Last weekend, I was in mile 3 of my run, and my brain told me I should probably give up on the Dopey challenge I'm planning to run in January. Not maybe slow down, not take a longer walk break, just quit the whole thing. Tell everybody that I changed my mind. And for about 30 seconds, I believed what my brain was telling me. Then something happened that I want to talk you through today because I think it might be one of the most useful things I've ever learned. But it's not necessarily about running, it's more about thinking. So if you're new here, welcome. I'm Danny, and this is my channel where I talk about the stuff that actually moves the needle. It's not like the surface level tips, but more like the mindset shifts that make everything else possible. Today, I want to take you inside that run, not the highlight reel version, the real time version of what was happening in my head, because think everybody watching this has probably had this exact same experience. Maybe not on a run, maybe it was in your business, relationship, or just on like a random day when you were trying to build a habit and your brain decided today was the day to dig in its heels. By the end of this video, I want you to walk away with one specific shift. It's small, but it's really powerful. So let's get into it. Here's what happened. I was about 3 miles in. My legs felt heavy in a way they really shouldn't have that early, and my breathing was off. The thoughts started coming in like one after another, and it was really frustrating. The first thought was that I wasn't a real runner. Then it was that Dopey was unrealistic. How am I going to do almost 50 miles over 4 days? Like, what are you thinking? And then the third thought was that I was like losing fitness, that I was getting slower the more I trained. So many of these thoughts popped into my head. But here's the thing. In the moment, they didn't feel like thoughts, they felt like facts, like information someone was handing me the way you'd get like a weather report. Like, oh, here's the current status of your fitness and your identity as a runner, and it's bad. But I want you to notice something with me. Notice that all three of those thoughts showed up at the exact same time in the exact moment my body was struggling. Not on a good run, not when I felt strong. They showed up the moment things got hard. So here's what I did. I didn't argue with them. I didn't try to talk myself out of them with some kind of like pep talk. I just noticed them. Oh, there's the thought that I'm not a runner. And I just kept running. I didn't give them any credibility. I didn't decide that I'm not a good runner. I didn't decide that I should give up. Those thoughts showed up, and then I finished the run. Here's what I want you to understand about why this happens, because I think a lot of us walk around assuming that when a hard thought shows up, it means something's wrong with us. Like, if I were really cut out for this, I wouldn't be thinking these things. But that's backwards. Your brain's job, the thing it's been doing since before you could even form a sentence, is to scan for danger and to protect you from it. When you put yourself into something difficult, your brain treats it the same way it would treat an actual threat. It starts generating reasons to stop and to go back to what feels familiar and safe. So when those thoughts showed up during my long run, it wasn't my body telling me the truth. That was my brain doing exactly what brains do when things get uncomfortable. It was trying to protect me from discomfort the way that it's wired to. The problem is we don't usually experience it that way. We experience it as the truth. The thought arrives, and then within a split second, we like accept that it's the truth. I'm not a runner doesn't feel like a thought that popped up in response to discomfort. It feels like a fact that someone just discovered. And that's the gap that I'm talking about today, the gap between having a thought and believing a thought. So before I keep going, because I think the next part is really where this clicks, and if this is resonating with you so far, I just want to make sure you're subscribed to this channel. I will be exploring this idea all month, and I'm building towards something that I think is really going to shift a lot for you. So hit that subscribe button now, and I don't want you to miss where this is going. Okay, so here's the distinction. Having a thought means your brain generated a sentence. That's it. That's all a thought is at the moment it arrives. Something that occurs automatically, like a sneeze or a hiccup. Believing a thought is a separate decision. It's you taking that sentence and deciding, yes, this is true, and I'm going to act accordingly. Most of us collapse those two things into one. The thought arrives and we believe it automatically without ever realizing that there was even a choice. I like to think of thoughts as weather, like a storm rolling in. You notice it, maybe you feel it, the wind picks up, the sky changes, but you don't have to go outside and stand in it. You don't have to cancel your plans because there's a storm somewhere on the radar. You can notice the weather and keep doing what you were doing. Our thoughts are not always true. We don't have to listen to them just because they pop into our heads. That thought, I'm not a runner, rolled through like a storm cloud at mile 3. I noticed it, but I didn't go stand in it. Now, I don't want this to just be a nice metaphor, so here's what's at stake. I want you to feel the cost of buying into those thoughts. If I had believed that thought at mile 3 that I'm not a runner, what would have happened? I probably would have stopped, or I would have finished the run, but then spent the rest of the day in a bad mood, telling myself my training wasn't working, and maybe even start thinking about actually backing out of Dopey. Here's the part that really gets me. None of that would have been because anything actually changed. My fitness didn't change in that moment. My ability didn't change. The only thing that changed was that a thought showed up and I had a choice about what to do with it. Every time we treat a hard thought as truth, we hand it the controls. We let a passing mental event decide what to do next, and we decide something about ourselves. Most of the time, we don't even notice we did it. It just feels like I decided this wasn't for me, or I guess I'm not someone who finishes things. But that's not what happened. What happened is a thought showed up and you believed it without even checking. So, what do you actually do with this? I know this can sound a little abstract until you try it, so the practice is simple and you can start using it right away. When a hard thought shows up, instead of saying to yourself, I'm not good enough or I can't do this, try adding this phrase in front of it. I'm having the thought that I'm not good enough, or I'm having the thought that I can't do this. It might sound like a small change, almost a little silly, but try it. Say I'm not good enough, then say I'm having the thought that I'm not good enough. Do you feel the difference? The first one is a verdict, and the second one is an observation. The first one is you fused with the thought without any separation, but the second one creates space. It puts you in the position of the person noticing the thought instead of the person being affected by it. That tiny bit of space is significant because you get to choose what happens next. You can have the thought, I'm not a good runner, or I'm having the thought that I'm not a good runner, and then you just keep going. You're not taking orders from it anymore. See what I mean? Once you start noticing this, you'll see it everywhere, not just on a run. And I know you're not all runners. It shows up when you write something and the thought arrives, oh, it's not good enough. Who do you think you are? Or when you're trying to build something like a business or a habit and the thought arrives, if it's taking too long, maybe it's not working. Or it can show up in the middle of a hard conversation. Anything that causes you to be a little uncomfortable for a while. Those thoughts don't go away because you figured it out. They just stop getting to control you. So here's another example that I think shows this even more clearly. I went plant based back in April, and honestly, the first few weeks were amazing. My energy was really high, my runs felt great, and it felt like I found something that was really working for me. But then over the past couple of weeks, my running has gotten harder, not like catastrophically, but just harder than it had been. And of course, right on schedule, those thoughts showed up that maybe I should give up, maybe plant-based isn't right for me. Maybe that was the thing that was making my runs feel worse, but none of that was true. What was actually true is that I live in Florida, and the heat and humidity this time of year will make any run harder, no matter what you're eating. That's it. That's the whole explanation. But for a minute, several times over the past few weeks, my brain didn't offer me that explanation. It offered me the thought that pointed at the newest, most recent change and said, oh, it's probably this, because that's what brains do. They look for a reason, they grab the first one that's available, whether or not it's actually the right one. So I didn't act on it. I kept eating the way I've been eating because I know that it's been making me feel good. And this morning I had an amazing run. It was strong, no struggle at all. And that told me everything I needed to know about whether that thought was true in the first place. Pattern is the same every time. A thought shows up, it feels urgent, true, like it's revealing something real about you. And in the moment, you can step back even slightly and say, okay, that's a thought, not a fact. And when you do that, you take your power back. This is what I keep coming back to. Progress in anything, running, building something new, changing a habit, it doesn't happen without the negative thoughts. I wish I could tell you that eventually they do go away, but they don't. I still have them. I had them 2 days ago during my long run. Progress doesn't happen when you believe thoughts. It happens in the space between the thought and acting on it. You're not going to eliminate that inner critic, but learning to let that thought pass through your mind without giving it control is so significant. So I'm just sharing what's on my heart, and I'm hoping that it helps you, because I know how hard those thoughts can get and I know how convincing they can be in the moment. You've probably felt this too, haven't you? That moment when you look back and you think, I almost let that thought talk me out of something that turned out totally fine. By the way, if you've been following along with my training, the link to support my American Cancer Society fundraiser for the Dopey Challenge is in the description if you'd like to be part of that. Thanks so much for being here. This is a topic that's really important to me to share. And if it helped to see your own thoughts a little differently, do me a favor and hit subscribe and share this with someone who needs to hear it. I'll see you next week.